Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. This week's on WWE SmackDown, Jimmy Uso made an effort to establish himself as a singles competitor by attempting to defeat Carmelo Hayes. While he came close to succeeding, the new Bloodline members intervened, ultimately destroying Big Jim. In this article, we will explore 5 potential directions for Jimmy Uso following this week's events on the Blue brand. 5. Jimmy Uso could announce his entry in the Men's Royal Rumble match. WWE Royal Rumble 2025 is the next premium live event for the company, and the traditional Rumble match has already witnessed many big-name declarations. To solidify his position, it's possible that Jimmy Uso could soon declare his entry for the over-the-top rope battle royale. By entering the Men's Royal Rumble match, the former tag team champion will have the opportunity to showcase to the world that he can do much more than just being an OG Bloodline member. 4. Big Jim might unexpectedly cost Jey Uso at Saturday Night Main Event. Before Jimmy Uso's match against Carmelo Hayes, the former NXT North American champion mocked Jimmy by claiming he works in Jey Uso's shadow. One unexpected direction following this development could be Jimmy turning heel out of nowhere and deciding to cost Jey Uso his match against Gunther at WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. This action could stem from jealousy, as he might wonder how the YET Master is getting a world title shot in WWE while Jimmy isn't receiving similar opportunities. 3. Jimmy could request Adam Pearce to join the WWE Raw brand. The transfer window concept allows stars to shift brands in the Stanford-based promotion. During this week's SmackDown, Rey Mysterio was subtly transferred to the blue brand from WWE Raw. However, with the red brand now available on Netflix, Jimmy Uso could request Adam Pearce to join Monday Night Raw, shifting from SmackDown. The rationale behind this could be Jimmy's desire for a bigger platform than Friday nights to elevate his status in the company as a single star. Additionally, with Jey Uso already part of WWE Raw, this move could open the possibility for a full-time reunion of the Usos in the near future. 2. The Samoan twin could turn on Roman Reigns for a major reason. Roman Reigns has finally regained the Ula Fala from Solo Sikoa, but despite this, the recent SmackDown episode showed that the new bloodline hasn't left Jimmy Uso alone. The attack from Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga implies that in the upcoming episodes, the Samoan twin could be in the sights of the Bloodline 2.0 members. If Roman doesn't support or aid Big Jim against the new bloodline, it could lead to Jimmy turning on the original tribal chief. The 39-year-old star could express how Roman has become a selfish figure after reclaiming power and isn't there to aid his OG Bloodline members when they need him most. 1. A reunion with Solo Sikoa to take down Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. After Solo Sikoa's walkout on the recent SmackDown, Jacob Fatu's reaction has been intriguing, as fans believe the Samoan werewolf feels disrespected. As a result, the monstrous Bloodline member could soon turn against Solo and abandon him from the faction in WWE. If this scenario unfolds, it's possible that Jimmy Uso could decide to reunite with his former enforcer to take down Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. This could also set up a tag team match between them in the near future. Earlier, when Solo was with the OG Bloodline, he played the role of the enforcer for the faction members. He even aided the Usos multiple times to secure their title reign and win several matches. So, it wouldn't be a surprise if Solo and Jimmy reunited once again after Sikoa is potentially kicked out by Jacob and Tama Tonga. The WWE Universe had been rocked for weeks by the rumors swirling around the future of the Bloodline. Roman Reigns, once the undisputed leader, had seemed untouchable, his dominance over SmackDown unchallenged. But things had begun to shift. The subtle cracks in his empire had become impossible to ignore. The Bloodline, a force of unity and raw power, was on the verge of crumbling, and the whispers of betrayal echoed through the halls of the locker room. It all began when Jey Uso walked away, leaving behind a shattered bond and a trail of unanswered questions. Jimmy Uso had always been the quieter of the two brothers, a silent enforcer who stood beside Roman when necessary but never overshadowed his cousin's reign. Now, as the dust settled and tensions began to rise, Jimmy found himself in the spotlight, not as a follower, but as a leader in his own right. The story took another unexpected turn when the WWE Universe learned that Jimmy's former enforcer, a towering 6 feet 2 inches force of nature, was returning to the company. This enforcer had been a shadow in the past, a powerhouse who followed Roman's orders without question. He had left the company years ago under mysterious circumstances, and his absence had left a void in the Bloodline's ranks. Now, however, he was back, and he had one goal: to take down Roman Reigns. Jimmy USO, in many ways, had always been torn between loyalty to his family and the desire to carve out his own identity. The Bloodline had been everything to him, but as the betrayals piled up, starting with his own brother, Jay, and continuing with the manipulation and power plays from Roman, it became harder to remain loyal. Jimmy had been living in Roman's shadow for far too long, and the return of his former enforcer was the final catalyst to ignite the rebellion within. It all began one fateful Friday night on SmackDown. The camera cut to Roman Reigns, walking through the backstage area, flanked by his loyal allies, Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman. Reigns had a look of complete confidence on his face, his title belt shining like the symbol of his unshakable reign. The arena was alive with the roar of fans who knew something major was about to happen. Roman, however, seemed utterly unfazed. But that's when it happened. The lights flickered. For a moment, the crowd's excitement turned into confusion. What was going on? Suddenly, the Titantron flashed to life with an image of Roman Reigns' former enforcer, a familiar face that sent a ripple of shock through the WWE Universe. Standing in front of a dimly lit backdrop, the figure spoke with a deep, commanding voice. "Roman, you thought you could rule forever. You thought you could control the Bloodline. But I'm back, and this time, it's not for you." The enforcer's name was Harris Reed, a former collegiate athlete and powerhouse with a reputation for being the muscle in the early days of Roman Reigns' rise to the top. Harris had been Roman's right hand, his enforcer, and the man who kept anyone from getting too close to the tribal chief. He was the embodiment of strength, the silent protector. But after a falling out with Roman over power struggles and trust issues, Reed had disappeared. Now, with a sinister smirk, Harris was back to claim his piece of the WWE pie. Roman's reaction was immediate. The cold fury that radiated from his eyes was evident. This wasn't just about a returning superstar. This was about betrayal. His own enforcer, someone he had trusted with his life, was now declaring war on him. Roman stormed to the ring, mic in hand, his words laced with venom. "Harris," he growled, "you were nothing without me. You were a puppet, and I was the one pulling the strings. You think you can stand against me now. You think you can take my throne." But Harris wasn't done. On the next episode of SmackDown, he made his presence known, walking down to the ring with a swagger that could only belong to someone who had just earned the right to be there. The crowd buzzed with excitement and curiosity. What was his plan? "I don't need Roman Reigns," Harris declared, looking directly into the camera. "I've spent too long in the shadows. It's time for me to take what's mine." With Roman's empire crumbling, Harris didn't just challenge Roman for his title. He took aim at everything Roman had built: the bloodline, the respect, the influence. And most importantly, he took aim at Roman's deepest fear: the loss of control. This was not going to be a simple confrontation. It was a full-on war. The weeks that followed saw a transformation in Jimmy USO. Once content to stand by Roman's side, he now began questioning everything. He could feel the weight of the betrayal within the bloodline. His own brother, Jay, was gone. Roman had treated them both like pawns, and it was time to make a choice. Jimmy's internal struggle came to a head during a crucial backstage segment, where he found himself face-to-face with his former enforcer, Harris Reed. "Roman ain't who you think he is," Jimmy said, his voice quiet but filled with conviction. "He uses us, Harris. He uses everyone. But you've got something I need: power." Harris raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what do you want from me, Jimmy?" "I want to take down the king," Jimmy replied. "Together, we can destroy everything he's built." For the first time in a long time, Jimmy USO wasn't standing in Roman Reigns' shadow. He wasn't the enforcer, the follower. He was the one holding the keys to his own destiny. The final confrontation came at WWE's biggest event, where Roman Reigns defended his Universal Championship against the returning Harris Reed. The match was brutal, a true test of will and power. Roman was at his most vicious, but Harris was relentless. Every punch, every slam, was calculated. Jimmy USO stood at ringside, watching the battle unfold, and as the fight reached its peak, the moment of truth arrived. In a shocking turn of events, Jimmy USO slid into the ring, a steel chair in hand. He stood there, staring down Roman, the entire WWE Universe, waiting to see what would happen. In an instant, Jimmy swung the chair, not at Harris, but at Roman Reigns. The chair shot echoed through the arena, and the crowd exploded in disbelief. Roman Reigns had been betrayed by the very man he had once trusted, his enforcer, now his enemy. Jimmy USO had made his choice. Harris Reed, seizing the opportunity, landed his finishing move on Roman, pinning him for the 3 count. The crowd erupted into chaos as Harris Reed stood tall, the new king of the bloodline. But it wasn't just his victory. It was Jimmy USO's rebirth. The USO brothers were now united, and the bloodline was shattered. Roman Reigns, the once untouchable tribal chief, had been betrayed, and in the end, it was not just his former enforcer who took him down, but the very blood running through his veins.